I'm Nilmini Rubin, and I'm Chief Policy Officer at Hedera. I lead all of our work with governments and regulators. So we're in a really exciting moment for global policy because jurisdictions are developing the rules right now that impact digital assets and digital ledger technologies. The US is moved legislation through the House, and it's developing legislation in the Senate that we hope will pass soon that creates a market structure for digital assets. But already they've recently passed the Genius Act that provides a legislative framework for stablecoins. So it's a huge amount of progress. What we've seen is the passage of the Genius Act in the United States has brought a ton of interest into digital ledger technology and crypto from groups that previously were interested in Web3 and emerging technologies, but also people who are in traditional industries. The passage of legislation is catalyzing investment and interest in our technology. The number one thing that policymakers are interested in when we talk about Hedera is our governance structure. So we're governed by a group of companies and organizations that are global and that range across industries. And they are really kind of captivated by the transparency and the organization that goes around our governance. It shows the interest in being compliant and the longevity of the network because it is governed so well. So policymakers are very interested in governance. They're also interested in our technology. When we start talking about the Hashgraph technology and how fast and reliable it is and the speed to finality, that is of a lot of interest, especially policymakers in the financial services areas. There's a lot of interest in the Hedera technology because we're in an age of confusion and we're seeing a lack of trust. There are products that are being built on Hedera that enable trust. It enables you to tokenize data that would go into an AI so you can understand where the data comes from, the provenance of the data, turning off and on permissions for use of the data, payments to the rights holders of the data. So it really is a complementary technology to AI that helps people address some of the discomfort they might have around the rise of AI. Hedera has been a great platform for stablecoins because it's a fast technology that's very reliable. We've seen a lot of interest from companies, but also from governments building stablecoins or tokens on our network. Obviously, we have USDC, the Circle stablecoin, but we're seeing states like Wyoming look to Hedera to build their tokens on us. And then we've had a project in Australia, Project Acacia, was built in part on Hedera, and that was a pilot around a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, in Australia. So it was the Australia Payments Plus and the Reserve Bank of Australia. So our policy team works a lot in education, which is really, really fun because we get to talk to people about the innovations being built on Hedera and how it may impact the world so that they can think about what rules they want to put in place to protect consumers and to facilitate economic growth. So what we have done is work with think tanks like CSIS on products like on reports on financial inclusion or research into how blockchain supports democracy. We also work with think tanks like the Atlantic Council. We're members of their Economic Center with Milken, and with trade associations like the Institute for International Finance. And then we also reach out directly to policymakers to talk to them about what's happening in the industry. We really enjoy it because it helps us, share all of the great work that people are doing as they innovate. And it's also helpful for us to learn about what policymakers are concerned about so we can make sure to integrate it into our work. I expect in the next few years that we will have a real body of regulation on digital assets. Hopefully, it will be interoperable. In 3 years, I hope that we will see what the best practices are in policy. We'll have had rules promulgated in different jurisdictions, and we'll be able to see which ones work best. And we'll have the opportunity to hopefully harmonize across jurisdictions.